At yesterday's kickoff, Mayor Walsh also announced a new initiative for young people at risk between 11 and 14 years old. The program supported by John Hancock, which already provides summer jobs for older teens. The object is to help reach a population that's too old for summer camp and too young for a summer job. Managed by the Boys and Girls Club's YouthConnect program, the initiative will serve 50 young people year-round. To tell us more are the Assistant Vice President and Counsel for John Hancock, Tom Crohan, and the Executive Director of YouthConnect, Andrea. Thank you both very much for being with us. I want to start with Tom. Go back to the history because this is a new program, but you've been talking about it for a while, and it's an outgrowth of another program.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for the opportunity to be here, and you're right. I mean, we announced it yesterday. We were proud to join Mayor Walsh and several hundred youth at our headquarters yesterday, but the discussions go back, frankly, to 1994 around youth violence and making sure that we have programs in place to support those that are demonstrating some risky behavior, and the city has been a leader in those efforts going way back until that time. But recently with Mayor Walsh's office, starting in January, we re-engaged with them about how can we re-innovate a program that we've been developing with the city for the last 20 years. And through the leadership of Mayor Walsh, Dan Mulhern, who heads up his public safety initiatives, they said there's a real need for 11 to 14-year-old populations, and that while there are programs there, more could be done in that area. And so we were proud to join the mayor yesterday to announce a new initiative, which Andrea and the team at the Boys and Girls Club are going to run for us this year, but for the next 4 years, because it's not a short-term commitment, it's a long-term commitment.
Andrea, tell us about YouthConnect, because you've been at this for a while, too.
Sure. So YouthConnect has been around since 1996. We're a program of the Boys and Girls Clubs of Boston in partnership with Boston Police Department. We're clinical social workers. My frontline staff work out of police stations in Boston to reach out to young people that the police are concerned about. Anything from young people who are involved in gangs or getting arrested for drugs, to parents who pick up the phone and outreach to the police because they want help, to victims of community violence. The police can't make you work with us, though. It's a voluntary program, and we don't report back to the police. It's confidential, it's free, we don't use insurance, we don't have time limits. We go out to people's houses, we see them in schools, and we really start with saying, how can we help you? And we not just work with a young person, we work with their whole family. We feel like that's a better model for us. We know the influence that families have on young people. And sometimes we focus on the parent and help them stabilize their household, put in resources in place. Sometimes we look at little brothers and sisters and think, how do you not come in contact with the police department at all? And think about summer camps and after-school programs. And it also can range from long-term therapy for individuals.
So, when I look at the coverage that we do almost every year of the Summer Opportunity Program, the Martin Luther King Scholars, these are great kids. I can easily imagine them being in your job within a decade or two.
That's the hope.
But talking about helping the at-risk kids, why is it so important to your company to get involved in that?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I think we are and have been a citizen of Boston for over 150 years. And the issues that matter to the city are issues that matter to us as a company. And our employees work here, we live here, and what you see on the front page of the newspaper, and certainly the tragedy that we've witnessed over the last week, is relevant to us as a company. And I think it's in our business interest to make sure that we're actively committed to the issues that are important to not just the city and not just to the city leaders, but to its residents. And nothing is more important than the health and wellness of the children that are operating and going to school here. And if you're not engaged in school, it's likely the result of something that's happening in the family or something that's happening broader than that. And the work that Andrea referenced, the holistic approach that they take, not just the individual but to the family, I think was critically important and why we're investing so heavily in their programs.
You're talking about the difference your program can make for these 11 to 14-year-olds, because if they're too old for summer camp and they don't have a summer job because they're too young for that, they'd be just hanging out over the summer?
Just hanging out in their house, hanging out in the street, hanging out in the community. And it's a special time in a young person's life. I might want to go to camp, but I see these 6-year-olds and 7-year-olds, and I'm not a little kid, and you want to be a teenager, but you're not 16, you're not 17. And so this really is an opportunity for them to develop the skills, kind of the pre-employment skills, the leadership skills, to recognize that they can make a difference right now, even though they are, barely a teenager or a young teenager. And we think that's really important. I think more young people who believe in themselves and have confidence, and regardless of circumstance, that they can have an impact and they can invest in themselves, and other people want to invest in them as well.
So I guess you're going to be supporting some activities of some kind for these young people during the summer?
Yeah, and to go back to your previous question, it's a continuum, right? We hope that these 11 and 12 and 13 and 14-year-olds get the summer jobs when they're 15 and 16 and 17, go on to college, and then ultimately do work at John Hancock. That's the goal, and I think when you target them, these kids have bright futures, and I think if you just give them and help them get a structure around how to focus their goals, you'll get there. But yeah, we're going to be engaging deeply. It's already started around the recruiting. We have weekly calls with Andrea and her team, and we're going to making sure that John Hancock as an institution, not just with dollars, but with our people and our thought leadership and our space, we'll make sure that we're opening our doors of opportunity for the kids that are in this program and those beyond that program.
Andrea, talk about what it's like to be a young person in that age, because when I think even my own growing up between 11 and 14, it almost seems like a difference of 15 years in a way, and how much they change.
Like asking me to think back
you're
asking me to think back a very long time, not too long, but a long time. But I think for all of us, I think it's, you're starting to figure out who you are as a person. You're starting to form your own independence from your family and maybe some difference in ideas, maybe some values. You have more independence. You can go out in the neighborhood by yourself or with your friends, and your peers become very important to who you are. But you're not quite there. Your body isn't fully mature. Your brain certainly isn't fully developed yet at that age, but you're starting to come into your own. And I think you can make some very risky decisions without fully understanding the implications. And I think having the opportunity to experience positive youth development opportunities, not just for you, but for your friends or things that your family can do together, I think just helps make that transition from basically being a kid to being a young adult a little bit smoother.
Plus you're seeing adults and maybe other young people that you wouldn't have seen otherwise.
Absolutely. I think it's, you can be in school, you have school, but then what are you doing after school, and who do you really have access to? And so this program not only is thinking about what are you going to do during the summer, and there's great opportunities for these young people during the summer, 4 weeks at Camp Harborview, 4 weeks at another Boys and Girls Club site, but then workshops every other week during the school year at their home school. We're working with 6 different schools to really think about those leadership skills, communication, pre-work readiness skills, leadership, overall health and well-being, how to function in a workplace safely out in the community, all of those kind of workshops to kind of get them ready. And then we also have a social worker who's going to work with the whole entire family to help kind of deal with any obstacles that else might be going on in their household.
Tom, tell me a little bit of the background about developing this program and the people you talk to. I imagine people in the city, maybe some people from community agencies.
Sure. Well, it's an outgrowth, as you highlighted. 1994, we started with conversations with then first-year Mayor Menino, and it predates me, of course, but we've been in this program for 20 years, and that program led us into the MLK Summer Scholars, which you referenced, which for the last 8 years we've provided 15 to 19-year-olds 600 jobs annually. And so we've been able to learn from those experiences over the last 20 years. And just this past January, we said in an opportunity with a meeting with the mayor to say, what could we be doing differently? Is there an opportunity to re-innovate the program that has traditionally been called Summer of Opportunity to do something different? What are the needs? What are the desires? What are you focusing on as you're out in the neighborhoods? And they really led us to this 11 to 14-year-old population. And so we're proud to be sitting here today, and certainly proud of the efforts that Andrea and her team will conduct over the next year.
Andrea, what about the educational dividend here too? Because I'm sure it still happens. A lot of people have trouble making that transition from middle to high school. I mean, academically, it's a struggle, and I imagine these are young people who probably need some help with that.
Yeah, it's why we take a holistic approach to everything we do at YouthConnect, and this program will not be any different. During the summer, Camp Harborview has some skills, but definitely the other Boys and Girls Club components also have kind of focus on literacy and math activities. Obviously, camp is fun, and it's supposed to be fun, and let kids do what kids are supposed to do. But you can kind of sneak in some educational activities in there. And then during the school year, we're doing our workshops based out of the school. All the schools that we approach, we're excited to have us in there and be able to provide this opportunity for their students, knowing that it isn't just one part of the equation. You can have school, but you can add to it. You can deal with the social emotional part. You can deal with the family part and kind of piece it all together to hopefully aid in a transition so that they're all, being passed onto grade, the right grade level in 2016. We'll work with them to figure out not just this summer, but next summer, make sure they have a solid plan in place. But yeah, I think part of the incentive to be in this program, young people are able to earn a stipend, is positive participation. That does involve going to school. That does mean participating appropriately during the workshops and attending the summer programming as well. So the kids are actually very excited to hear about the stipend that they're able to earn.
Yes, you feel like an adult.
Yes, you feel like an adult. They understand the importance of the money and what it means for them. It's it's up to $800, which made for the kids we talked to all of their ears and eyes perk up because it's a significant amount of money, and we wanted to make it a good enough incentive where kids will be excited and be willing to participate, because this is a year-long commitment that we're asking kids and families to make, and we really want to make sure that the kids are up for what we're about to provide.
Thank you both very much, Andrea Perry of YouthConnect and Tom Crohan
Thank you.
from
Thank
John
you.
Hancock. We'll have more news in just a moment.